Hey dude, here we are again. Let's talk about what I told you I would talk about, and now I'm gonna talk about what I told you I would talk about.
Now, dude, what I told you is about verbs in English. It's not so hard to know how to use them. And I'm going to give you some rules here, and they're not so hard to memorize. And if you can understand this, it's going to be much easier for you when you use two verbs, when you use ing, and when you don't use any of them. So the first thing you need to know about verbs in English is that we just have three formations. Only three formations of verbs in English. The first formation is the infinitive case. And we have the infinitive case is the one we use to verb. When do we use the infinitive case? The most common situation of all is verb to verb. For example, I have to go. We needed to leave. I've got to sleep for 172 hours to be back to normal again. It's true. Now you see that we have verb to verb, have to go, needed to leave, got to sleep. This is the most common situation in which we have the infinitive, and a broad range of verbs in English, they go to this situation here. So if we have one verb after the other, generally, not always, of course, they go to verb case. The second situation is when we have a verb after the adjective. This always happens. Now, we have other situations too when we have a preposition here, but I'm going to talk to you about adjective to verb situations, in which are something like this. It's hard to learn Chinese. It's hard to learn Chinese. I think it's a good, no, let me say. I think it's good to eat pizza every day of our lives. I do think it's a good thing to eat pizza every day of our lives because I love pizza. Now, dude, you see that we're talking about hard to learn, good to eat, because we use to verb because the word before is an adjective. So this is the second case in which we have the infinitive. And the third and last case is when we talk about reasons. In fact, there is a fourth case. I'm going to tell you about this. But these three are the most important of all of them. Now, when do we use this for reasons? For example, I can ask you, hey dude, why do you have a car? I have a car to get to work faster. So you're given a reason here. It's similar to because, the idea of because, given a reason. I have a car to get to work faster. Hey dude, why do you have a dog at home? I have a dog at home to protect it when I travel. So these are reasons. These are the three most important formations we have for the infinitive verbs. Verb to verb, adjective to verb, and when we want to make it, when we want to talk about reason. Now the fourth situation is after interrogative words. Now this is a very specific case. For example, I don't know how to make a cake, and this is also true. I'm terrible in the kitchen. I don't know how to make a cake, but why did we use to make here? Because how is an interrogative word. Do you know what to do? Do you know what to do? Once again, to, because it's infinitive after the interrogative word what. Is that clear? So infinitive verb to verb, the most important of all these rules is definitely this one here. Secondly, adjective to verb, reasons. And this case is not so common because you can make a direct question instead of just using interrogative words in these cases. You use after interrogative words like this. Okay, so this is the first formation, which is infinitive, the two verbs. The second situation is when we have the verb in ing. When do we have verbs in ing? The first situation is the case of verb, ing. Now, this is also very, very common, but I personally believe that verb to verb is more common. So much so that verb ing, we have to memorize a list of verbs that require the following to be an ing formation. And some of them are, for example, to stop, quit, postpone. These enjoy, very important. Don't mind. For example, you need to stop rooting for Flamengo. If you are Flamenguista, I'm sorry. Now, quit smoking. If you don't know the difference, to quit is to stop forever. Okay? So quit smoking, something like this. To quit is to stop forever. In this situation, we have other meanings for this. Okay, so you see that after stop, we use stop rooting, quit smoking. You see that we're using ing after these verbs because they fit into this verbs here, this rule here. I'm going to talk a little about some specific cases, but there are not so many freaking verbs we use in this formation here, okay? The second rule for ing formation is after, and this, in my opinion, is the most important rule for the ing formation, which is after prepositions. This is a golden rule and has no exception. This is freaking important. So, for example, I am interested in eating pizza today. You see that most of my examples are about pizza. I think I'm addicted. So, dude, you see, I'm interested in eating pizza today. Apologize me, sorry. Sorry. Forgive me for eating all the pizza. Oh my God. I think I really need to eat some pizza tonight. Otherwise, I'm not going to have peace for the weekend. Forgive me for eating. I'm interested in eating. No, let me do something different. Forgive me for speaking so loud to you. You know, oh, sorry, not to. Speaking to or with. Yes, with you is more common. Forgive me for speaking so loud with you. So for speaking, in eating, every time we have a preposition and a verb after it, it's important to remember that we need to use the verb in ing form, okay? Now, there is a specific case, and this is kind of hard. I'm going to show you because I know you've got an advanced English and probably you've come across this already, in which the word to is a preposition. For example, I am used to going to the church on Sundays. Okay, I am used to going to the church on Sundays. But what? Why did we use ing here? Because in this expression here, to is a preposition. There are not so many cases like this. For example, there is a very common expression we see in business emails, and probably as you're Wendy told me you were studying for the diplomat examination. When I worked in Itamaraty, I've seen this a couple of times, not so many times because they have their specific languages there, but something like looking forward to hearing from you is when you are expecting an answer. But why do we use hearing in this case? Because this is one of the cases where to is a preposition. Got it? That's why looking forward to hearing from you. So this is not a verb to verb case. This is a specific case in which to is a preposition. You can Google it if you want. You're going to see that there are not so many expressions in which to is a preposition. But it's important to remember that always after prepositions, we have to use the verb in ing formation. And what's the last situation we got? When the verb is a noun. For example, swimming is the best activity to relax the mind. So swimming is the activity, the act of swimming is. So swimming is the subject of the sentence. And so in this case, we don't use two verbs. We use verb in ing. Okay? Let me just give you another situation so that you can contrast ideas. To swim, I need to go to the beach. Now, check it out. For the purpose of swimming, to swim, I need to go to the beach. So it's a completely different idea. You know, what do you need to do to swim? To swim, I need to go to the beach. Okay? Okay, so this is the third situation. Now, so this is the formation of ing verbs. And there are some verbs like, love, hate. For now, I think these three are good for you to remember. These three you can use with to verb or verb ing, and this is pretty common in English. You have some verbs that you can use with both, with no difference of no real difference of meaning. For example, I love watching films at night. For this situation here, I can also use to watch. No difference, okay? Both are correct. Both are very usual. Now, there are some situations in which it changes. For example, she stopped to talk to me. And this is a problem. Why is this a problem? Because I just told you that stop, you need to use an ing formation. So what do we do? Oh my God, what do we do now? In this case here, I am not saying the activity she stopped. I am talking about the reason she stopped. For example, she stopped jogging to talk to me. So imagine somebody running, a girl jogging, and then she sees me, hey, chica, hey, and then she stops jogging to talk to me. So she stopped to talk to me. So you see that there is a difference in meaning when we use the ing or the to verb in this situation here. Is this very common? Honestly, no. Okay, I have never studied this very freaking deeply, but in my years of studying English, I have seen this not so often. Okay, so stop is a case in which you have to use ing formation, because if you use to, you are changing the meaning. Okay, so the second formation we have for verbs is verb ing, and the third is the easiest one. Is the case of modal verbs. We have three information to talk about modal verbs, but before that, let's put up here that modal verbs are the most common. Modal verbs are can, could, may, might, should, must, and we have other modal verbs too. Okay, and this consider the auxiliary verbs, because some grammar books consider will, would as modal verbs too. Okay, just considering modal verbs that are not considered auxiliary verbs are these. We have others. You know, need was a modal verb in the past. We have ought to, but ought to is not so much used anymore. It's just in high English, you know, high level of English. I have seen some people saying that if ought to is pretty arrogant, you know. I don't know if this is a regional perspective or a personal perspective of the person, but they don't use ought to anymore, you know. But the person said, but I have already seen, for example, Alanis Morissette has a song, You Oughta Know. You know, you oughta know. It's just like you have to, you need it. You must know. You oughta know, you know. So it's just not so common nowadays anymore. And ought to is the only modal verb that is an exception to what I'm going to tell you about motor verbs right now. What are the three things you need to know about motor verbs? And in this case, I'm going to erase ought to from here. Okay, disconsider ought to. Now, we never use to or ing after them. Never, never. So we cannot use can and to right after. You can say, I can dance. Okay? I can dance. So you see there is no to, there is no ing. This is a modal verb. Can is a modal verb. Okay? Second situation, and very, very important. And this is the most important thing. Now, this possibly is one of the top 10 mistakes my proficiency examination students commit. They never go with other auxiliary verbs. And this is quite a problem for us. But let me tell you this. I can dance is in the present. I could dance is in the past. How do we make this blessed thing in the future? We have to change the structure of can or could by a similar expression. I will be able to dance. So that's how you do the future, because you cannot use will with can, and it would make no sense with could. Okay, so this is how we do with the verb, the idea of can in all the other verb tenses. I have been able to dance. Okay, I wouldn't have been able to dance. If you take a very complex structure in English, I wouldn't have been able to dance. So you see that we have as an auxiliary verb in both situations, and we use be able to. We adapt it to other verb tenses because we never use auxiliary verbs with modal verbs. Okay, and the third third thing is that they never change. They never change. So I can, you can, he, she, it, dun 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 dun. Can, it does not have that letter S over here. Okay? So they don't change, they don't go with auxiliaries, and we never use to or ing after them. These are the three formations we have for verbs in English. Only these three. Of course, I could talk and talk and talk and talk and talk a lot about them right here. But this is not so profitable. What is profitable is for you to know the general rule, and you learn better with practice. As you're going to take TOEFL tomorrow, it's not necessary to memorize a list of many verbs for you to do the test, because as I already read your writing compositions, I already know you know how to use them correctly. This is just for the case if you have any questions and then you were there, oh my god, what do I do here? You just would need to remember the verbs. If they are modal, there is no to, no ing. Depending on the verb, stop, quit, don't mind, enjoy, you need ing formation right after. And commonly we use verb to verb. This is the most common structure we have for the verbs in English. If you still have any questions, just send me up on WhatsApp. I'm gonna be online for the rest of the night. Okay, thank you very much, dude. Have very good examination tomorrow. See you.